Alright, so the factory is a bit of a mess, but I've done quite a bit of cleaning up here. Please ignore if I'm walking around a giant spider, that's perfectly normal. I'll start over here. This section here, these two large train depots handle where all my trains in ores come in. So we have iron on this section here, and then copper coming through here. And then this upper train is purely just for iron. And if I go below here, you'll be even more ores. Some of these aren't currently in use, but we have a coal train, a stone train, and then this one is for uranium ore for the nuclear reactor, which goes to the other side of the base. If we come over here, we have the enormous amount of oil processing that's required for this. This takes in oil from a pipeline that goes out to these oil fields all the way over here and breaks them down into petroleum gas and other oils. Um, and the ore processing similarly happens up here. These are copper ore smelters, and my iron ore smelters, and my steel ore smelter, or steel plate smelters, which takes in the iron and spits out steel. Now, the purpose of the factory is to make science, and so to make science, we need a bunch of stuff. First section here is circuitry. First, with basic circuitry, which is the green circuits. These take in iron and copper. Copper gets turned into wires. The iron gets combined with the wires to make the circuits. We make a ton of these, just an astronomical amount. Those get brought down here and are combined further with more wire and plastics to make these advanced circuits on the left, the red ones. And then the green and red circuits are brought over here and combined with sulfuric acid to make the blue processing units, the most advanced circuitry required for this factory. Once all our circuits are done, they're spat out over here. The green circuits we need a bunch of for other purposes. They get their own line. And then the red and blue get a combined line here. Here we have engine units, which are required for the blue sciences. Some of those then get converted into electrical engine units. We need both types, so they both need to be made. These are the preamble for making those. Batteries made from some of the chemical products we're making elsewhere. And down here, we have low density structure, which is purely just a science required product. Over here is my military science production. So here we create ammunition, walls, and grenades, which are the three requirements to make military science. Those get spat out down here onto their own line. Here we have production modules, which allow us to boost the productivity of machinery, as well as some railings for trailings. These are required for the purple science down here, as well as electrical engine units, electric furnaces, which are produced right here on my right. Blue science is here. It takes in that red circuits, those engines I built before, as well as some sulfur. Sulfur is just a chemical byproduct from oil processing. It's made over here. Red and green sciences, these are the simplest ones. This one just literally takes copper ore and some gears, produce the gears here, they get put in here. It's really simple. And then for the green, similarly, super simple. It's made of basic belts and inserters. Those get made right here. They're just made out of copper and iron. And then the yellow science, most advanced type, made of those blue processing units that we made earlier. The low density structures you saw earlier, as well as these drone parts, which are produced right here. Once all those are made, we need to send them to space. Well, we need to get our last science, which is from space, I should say, which is done here at this rocket silo, which is going to launch in about 4 minutes by the looks of it. So here we make the rocket fuel that's required to launch the rocket, which requires making a bunch of solid fuel, which is all of this. All of this processing takes it in, like I mentioned earlier, makes it into multiple fuel byproducts. This cracks it and refines some of the not dirtier products into lighter products, and this refines it even further. This is all plastics and sulfur right over here. Once that's all processed and we get the nice amount of rocket fuel that gets within here, we'll just make a small amount of lubricant for the purposes of those robot frames. All of that science gets brought down onto these 4 belts, which get absorbed by these labs over here, which actually is consumed to make the research. You can see here we're currently making about 70 science per minute. Note that I'm only producing about 60, and if I open up my production tab here, you can see I'm actually only making about 50 per minute right now of some of the sciences, just due to how it's functioning and which researches I'm currently doing. Now, the rocket itself can't just launch on its own. It needs a satellite. This makes the satellite. It's just made of a whole bunch of stuff, but I need so few satellites. They only launch once every about 15 minutes. So I just have a chest here that requests what's required, and a little bit of belt here for the little bit extra it needs, so the rocket fuel, the processing units, and the low density, since this also needs rocket fuel, processing units, and low density. And so you can see it makes a piece here, slowly building it up. But you can see that we have so much space science on the belt already that it doesn't currently need rockets, so we're just slowly waiting. Ideally, this would launch slightly faster, but I am doing just fine at our current rate, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. While we're waiting for the rocket to launch, we can go look elsewhere. If we come up here, you can see up the crenellations that I put up as defenses. They're not currently needed because I've expanded so much. This is the start of my new factory I'm working on. Another train depot, just iron, copper, and coal. That all gets processed here in these much larger forges, which I actually need to upgrade even further. And this makes the various modules I'll need for the factory. These are the most advanced kind. They each make their own types of speed, productivity, and efficiency. I need them on fairly large quantities, and so this factory's entire purpose is just to make those. Just to get you an idea of how the mining works, here's one of my mining outposts right here. We have all these copper mines right here, mining up all the copper. All of that gets combined together under a system of pipes or belts here, and loaded on into these chests. I have a train that is currently going over here, which we can see is pulling into the station over here. It pulls in, gets unloaded into the chests, and once the train itself empties out, which should only take a moment, it will immediately go back to try to refill itself. It's set up with these chests here so that there's always a flow of copper, even if we're not using the train's maximum usage. It comes back, and it refills. This mine is slowly dying. I've been mining this one for a little bit, so its peak efficiency is down from where it used to be. It's still pretty good. You can see I have these artillery cannons here, which are used to keep the riffraff out. There's an iron mine down here, similar concept. And then over here, uranium mine. Slightly different concept, requires sulfuric gas to mine, but same idea. Now, as for the actual reactor, that's over here. Walk myself over. You can try not to get hit by trains. Luckily, this fire train on here is immune to them, but you know, you can always still get hit if you feel like it by hopping out. Some brick production. You can see this area is also paved. I should really do more of that. These are my giant solar networks. They just act as a little bit of supplemental power for completely free. This is my nuclear reactor. Nuclear fuel is brought into these chests on the side here. They're a little hard to see while the machine's running, but you can see the chest here with a large amount of fuel inside of it. And then over on this side is where the provider to accept fuel that has been spent, which then gets brought over here, reprocessed down, and we will make more fuel. I currently have this off because I have so much nuclear fuel and I don't need this much. But this section essentially takes in uranium ore, splits it into U-235 and U-238, and then puts them in their respective chests. We make so much more U-235 that we don't actually need. So we go over here to this machine, which is a rather complicated looking setup here. Essentially what it does is that it takes in uranium-235 as well as U-238, and it will spit out slightly more U-235 than it takes and destroys some of the 238. I've essentially some circuits here that essentially says, hey, we need to make sure that there's always a supply for the U-235 munition itself. so this machine part will get used first. And only once we have completely emptied out the machine is this inserter allowed to turn on, when it will grab just the one extra U-235 that gets made, and that gets brought over here and brought into the fuel making process. This one machine, with how little it has, this could run for hundreds of hours on its own. It's not a ton else to show. There's more mines. Giant coal mine here. Big old iron mine. Some copper mines. Also pretty big. Tiny little weird one that's on top of the lake. You can see the whole area here. I have also got a full iron mine over here. Stone mine that's up here, which is starting to run out. I have another one here I can set up for. And then you can see some remnants of where some biters once were. However, I had cleared out all existing biters. If I press this button, you can see that there is no spot where they can currently spawn. Anything green means that there isn't something there. Just a debug option you can turn on. But if they did, I can fire an artillery shell at them from quite a distance here. Just as a show of force here. This might be a little bit extra here. So I can fire some shells. I'm not sure where they're coming from. They're coming from down here. You see these artillery shells flying through the air. And they go quite a distance. I'm actually making them go even further. And then there wasn't actually anything here. Just remnants from what I probably ran through earlier. Same thing here. Just clear these spots out. But this essentially allows me to rain death from any distance. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to show you. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Where is the last one?